Hey you guys, welcome back to My Declared Arts. Looks like we're reviewing an awesome new product from TourBox. So excited to show you what this thing is about, what it does, and what it can do for your workflow. So let's get started. And here is the TourBox. So you can see it's about the size of my hand, roughly. Maybe a little bit smaller. Very ergonomically designed. The fit and finish on the unit is absolutely beautiful, as noted in the first introduction video. Very solid. I think they probably put a weight in here, as well as some rubber pads on the back. I put this little Velcro unit on here because I've got it attached to a Velcro stand, keyboard mount that I like to keep things on so it doesn't move around a lot. But overall, the unit, I don't know how much it weighs. Probably a little bit heavier than maybe a cell phone, maybe 2 cell phones. But overall, it's not going to take up too much real estate on your desk. You know, and the button actuation is really nice. It's got great return on the buttons, as well as the scroll wheel, and the functionality of the unit is extremely robust, right? I look at something like this and I think of the hours and hours of time it took to design it, right? And it didn't really have anything to do with the unit itself. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek because I am a product designer, and you have to think of the end user and how they're going to interface with a product like this, right? If you have tons and tons of experience, you're going to come at this from a different angle than somebody would if they're buying it just off the shelf and they're a beginning user of products like this. So you have to think a lot about interface design, where the buttons are placed, right? Again, you're thinking of that human dynamic. You're thinking about how big the buttons need to be, how much return, how far apart. You're thinking of the curvature, right? The curvature of the edge, because hours and hours are going to be spent with this, using it, and it has to be comfortable. You're going to think of just size, right? It can't be too big, it can't be too small, you know, and then it's got to fit a myriad of different hand sizes. So a lot of engineering went into a product like this that thought about the human element. And that's extremely important to know, because some companies will just copy somebody else. You know, there's other companies out there in the marketplace that have tried to innovate, have tried to create quick key devices, quick macro devices that kind of emulate keyboard setups, right? They've got keys, they've got a scroll wheel, very simplified. And I think for most people that'll probably work. But whenever you have somebody that really wants to be on that edge of technology and integrate a system like this, and that's what it is. This is a system. This is not just a quick key remote. It is a system. You interface with the system, you program the system, you utilize the system, and it makes your work life and your interface with your programs that much better and improves your workflow. I really give TourBox high commendation, as I did before. The other unit that I reviewed was a very nice unit, and it lasted me quite a while, and I still use it on occasion whenever I do some video editing and stuff like that. The reason why I don't use the unit anymore is because my setup on my desk has changed so much. Just in the midst of, you know, facilitating different keyboards, different stuff like that, my system really had changed so much that integrating the TourBox Neo, which is what the original device was called, was not really in the game. So whenever TourBox again reached out to me and they said, hey, we would love for you to review the TourBox Lite, which is a, I hate to use the phrase stripped down version, because this is not stripped down. It is missing some of the other elements, and I'll show you the Neo in the video a little bit later. But it is, again, so robust. I think that, gosh, you could spend hours and hours doing things on this device and still not reach its potential. So let's go ahead and show you my setup and get into drawing and using the device. And we're going to look at some of the features in the console of the TourBox company, which is their interface, their driver. and kind of show you all the features, not all the features, but some of the features that it has, because at the end of the day, I don't want to bog you down with all the macros. If you're really interested, watch some of the videos, see what it does, and then, you know, just like with every piece of technology, and I say this a lot, you have to use it to know it. So let's get started using the TourBox Lite. And here's my setup. So I've got the TourBox Lite over here on the left-hand side. Typically, you're not going to see a setup like this, right? It's going to be on a flat desk, possibly. Maybe it's going to be backwards a little bit. But I've got my screen mounted on a swing arm here, and finding the appropriate place for the TourBox Lite was challenging. But at the end of the day, I felt like this is where I typically keep my keyboard, right here. But I've also got a little tray up here for my keyboard. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you kind of the workflow that I have developed with these particular devices. I am going to show you here in a moment just the form factor comparison between the TourBox Lite and the TourBox Neo, which is their kind of premier quick key remote. So it's not, like I said, it's not a typical quick key remote because it can do so many things, right? With regards to, you know, program manipulation. We're just gonna draw a real simple skull today. Now what's really cool too is I wanted to show you the console. So this is the TourBox console, and you link your specific programs. Currently I have Photoshop linked, and it's real easy to program, right? Like if I want to go ahead and change this particular button programming, currently I have it to save. All I would do is click it. It would bring up the sub menu, and it's got pre-done commands. I mean, it's got so many. I think sometimes I look at that and I'm a little overwhelmed, but you can also just put, you know, if you go ahead and get rid of what's in there, and then you can go ahead and do a keyboard combination, and that will actually record that as well. But I don't want to mess with it because I spent a considerable amount of time getting it to where I was comfortable in using it. And that is something that obviously, you know, whenever you're working on something in the context of creative, right? This is a device that, in my opinion, you really need to use it for a while to build up the muscle memory. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. But real quick, we're just getting a really quick sketch in. Just having a little bit of fun. Now, one of the things too that I noticed with keyboards, whenever I'm doing the quick key combinations, like I'll come here, and you see I can keep my finger on the space bar, right? And I can still do other things with the other keys. That's the keyboard. So whenever I come over here to the TourBox, what I actually have to do, so now I've got zoomed in, but I got those both clicked. So if I just lift that secondary button, it doesn't recognize that I just want to have the spacebar command that I have programmed for that particular button. So I actually have to release it and then come back to it. So that's something that I had to get used to. But like I said, I've been using this for probably about 3 days, and it's going to take, I don't know, I would surmise, last time whenever I was using the Neo, it took a good 2 weeks to get used to, you know, the quick keys. And even then, you know, I switch back and forth so much with programs and devices and stuff. It is challenging for me to build up a muscle memory with a new device, you know, that doesn't mirror what I have existing on here. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about really quick, because the TourBox Lite is a fantastic, and the Neo for that matter, is a fantastic device for those that, you know, are seeking something that really is kind of a niche. I would call it a niche, right? Because you can program the keyboard to do a lot of things, and a lot of computers come with keyboards. So why would you spend that amount of money on, you know, $100 basically on a device like this? Well, first it's, you know, I've got quick keys here, I've got my keyboard, and then here we are with another device, and I've even got I've got other quick key devices that I've used in the past, and they're always trying to manufacture these to be user-friendly. And I would say that the TourBox probably has the most amount of commands that you can command it, combine it and program it to do. And so in that respect, it's pretty cool. But the big factor for me is the fact that I'm working against myself, right? I've got 25 years worth of muscle memory that I'm going to be working against whenever I use a device like this. And that's not to say that the device was designed poorly. That's to say that I have a lot of stuff I have to get through, right? And that's just the reality of it. Stuff meaning old habits, the way that I do things, right, with the keyboard. Here, we're going to do this. As you see, and then I've got the scroll wheel right here, and that's really cool. And then if I need to rotate, I've got it to the push button right here, so now I can rotate. I've got my undos programmed in. So it is a great companion. I would probably equate this to being maybe something for a video editor, a heavy Photoshop user, Lightroom, because you can program it to do so many things. It is a very, very powerful peripheral. Say that 100 times, powerful peripheral. Yeah, I'm just basically having a little bit of fun. Yeah. And you can see once you get kind of used to not always trying to reach up to your keyboard and stuff, this becomes, like I said, a very powerful device. And you'll see an occasional slip up here and there because, again, I've used it about 3 days. Let me get a tie in here. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to switch brushes here in a second. Okay, yeah, see, once you start literally, you have to, I always say one of the biggest things that we as creative and users typically run into is not only habits that we've had for a long time, but also, technology that is designed by somebody else is going to take a lot of people in mind, right? This fits a lot of people. It's supposed to. And here, we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Increase the brush size. And sometimes whenever I'm working, I have to remember that. And I'm like, gosh, why doesn't it do that? Why can't I get it to do that? And to me, there's a frustration level there, but it has nothing to do with the device other than me trying to interface with it and change it into what I want it to be, right? So, yeah, it is a great device. See, and then I've got this programmed up here if I want to save. So I've got save. It goes to save, so we're just going to do TB test 1. If I can spell, test 1. There we go. Save. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to change the opacity. We're going to go here. Whoops. See, that's what I was talking about. So I go here, I move, and I want to move it again, but I can't because I have to release and hit it again. So I think that is something that probably needs to be looked at by the TourBox people because they're gonna watch this video. Okay, so we're gonna go to, here we go. There we get my favorite drawing brush. Here we go. And I do have the program. So this is spacebar, right? This is the color picker, which I believe would be option. That's option. Then I have this button, over here. What did I program this one to do? What is that one? The tour button is control. Okay. So then I have the push of the scroll wheel is going to be the rotation button. Then I can rotate this to make the brush bigger or smaller. Here is the zoom in, zoom out. That took me a hot minute to figure out, by the way. And then whenever I push it, that makes it full screen. So like I said, you can customize it any way you want to. The customization of this particular device probably, I would think, is a little bit beyond what I would use it for. What's really nice too is, like, if I were to go ahead and switch over to an Illustrator, if you look inside of the window of the TourBox console, you can see that it already has, so I linked the system, so I can go in and like in the Finder in my Mac, I've got it linked to where I can go and scroll through different files. You know, it's got presets for Clip Studio Paint. It's got presets for Capture One, Final Cut Pro, Premiere Editing, Lightroom Classic. So those are all pre-done whenever you buy the device. That's also what's really cool. If you don't have the wherewithal to go in and set things up, right, you can basically use what they have provided. But if you do want to have something and add a program, there's a little plus right here, and you would name it, and you would, it has customized, or you can use one of the existing presets they have in the queue, which is really cool. So we're not going to do this right now, but I just wanted to give you an overview of the console itself. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to revise the sketch a little bit in terms of workflow. I remember I used the Neo for quite a while, and then I had it very similar to what I have here, but I had it forward this way a little bit. Now that I've got the Neo, or the TourBox Lite, it doesn't have as large of a form factor. Here we go. And it just seems to fit a little bit better. And I'll go and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here in just a moment. Yeah, see, I have to be very conscious whenever I press that button, because I want to make sure that it returns. Oops, I made a mistake here. And what's really cool, I have a program here, and I can go forward too. So I can pretty much do whatever I want. And I know, if I use this for like 6 months, that muscle memory would have been developed. And this particular device would be absolutely a working dynamo, as I messed that up. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's got kind of a make it a butt chin, kind of, right? Again, just having some fun using the, yep, did it again. Did it again. Comparatively speaking, here we're going to show you the difference. So I've got 25 years worth of muscle memory built up with the keyboard. So it does take a little bit of getting used to the TourBox Lite, but that doesn't tell you that there are any problems, right? That just goes to show you that human conditioning and the fact that, you know, whenever you go to do something and you've got so much muscle memory built up, it's hard to get around it, right? Yeah, I've got all kind of quickies all over my computer. So then we come back here to the TourBox. It is a more natural setting, obviously. Now, if I had my keyboard down here, that would be different, but just for the sake of this particular demo, I want to show you that the fact that from setup to ease of use, if you're looking for a quick key remote and you don't want to spend, you know, 50 or 60 bucks on something like this that's very plain, right? And you want a little bit more, and you know, it auto senses. Let's give them a little bit of a. It auto senses whenever you change programs, which is really cool. Yeah. So you start understanding a little bit why somebody would be interested in something like this, if I can get my muscle memory not to do that. Yeah. Okay. Pretty cool. Okay, so I wanted to show this to you guys really quick. So I'm in Photoshop. Here's the drawing that I'm currently working on. Over here on the right-hand side, it shows you the quick key combinations as a really quick visual reference if you've already went ahead and programmed the unit. Now, like I said, it does come with pre-programmed default, but I highly recommend, especially if you're you know, a power user or something like that, you can go in and get things set up the way that you want to. But it's really nice because over here on the right hand side you can get things set up in a way that, you know, works for you, and it shows you all the quick keys that you can utilize, you know, and you can go in and change the different text. If you can't quite see it, you can make the text a little bit bigger, which is really nice. You can change the width on it. You can change a lot of things, kind of like macro settings that you can go in and do things the way you want to. To move it around, you're going to have to press your right button, possibly on your stylus or on your mouse, to move it around. And if you want to hide it, just come up here and you can hide it. Let me see if I can get it to work here. So there's auto hide on, auto hide off. So yeah. And it comes over here, says hide to the right. And then whenever I'm drawing, if I come over here and I want to do things here in the menus, it will auto hide whenever I want to interface with the menus underneath. But if I want to keep that going, I keep that on, and if I need to move it around, again, I press that right click. Now this is very convenient because I can have it there all the time, and then it's there right now, but if I want to go over and do things on my layers, I can go over here to the right-hand side and I can interface with my layers, no problem. And when I go back to my drawing, I can see my quick keys really simply and easily. This is just, you know, TourBox, they don't do things just to do them. They do things because they make sense, right? You want companies to look at their products in a way that really emphasizes the user's ability to interface with them effectively and not run into so many issues. Right, so if I don't want to have it right there, I can just have it over here, and then it's there. And if I want to come over, like I said, and I want to interface with the panels on the right-hand side, it's there. So, and if I don't like that at all, I come up here to the TourBox global switch, and I can turn it completely off, and it's gone, and I don't have to interface or see it at all. So that's really nice. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys the TourBox Neo. This is the original device that I reviewed probably about 2 years ago. And this particular device, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of its home. Came in a really cool case. So, comparatively speaking, you can see that the Neo obviously has more buttons, right? It costs more money, it has more features, it has more buttons. It is programmable speaking language. It is just a more robust unit. You could just, it's very similar. You still have the two buttons here, the single button here, the scroll wheel, and this button here. But then in addition, it's got this side button right here, which is really useful. Like I'd be working, and that was like my shift button. And over here, I could zoom in, and this would be my brush control. And if I wanted to do things and bring up the brush menu, I could just tap that. And this is really convenient too. I use this a lot, very similar to the keyboard four-way that I have, that I can go ahead and navigate stuff on my computer. So maybe this is exactly what you're looking for. You know, the Lite is a kind of a stripped down version, but not really, because you use so many different combinations. But on the other hand, these extra little features in the Neo definitely help you out. And I know they actually, this one's wired. They have something called the TourBox Elite, Neo Elite, I believe. And that is Bluetooth. And I thought that was just fantastic, right? Because you don't have to worry about wires. I'm not a wire guy. But in terms of form factor, the Neo is just a skosh bigger, right? Just a little bit wider. And I do actually like the feel of the Neo a little bit better. It's got a rubberized coating, whereas the Lite does not. Now, the Lite retails for about $94, $95 plus shipping. And I'm not really sure. I think this one is almost $200. So this, I would probably go after a little bit more than I would the Lite, just because of the way that I work. But, you know, this could be my traveling companion, and this could be my studio companion. That makes sense. So what did I think of the TourBox Lite? A+. I think it was a great experience overall. I think utilizing it and integrating it to my workflow on a day-to-day basis has definitely improved things here in the studio. You know, some of the questions that I think probably need to be asked, and these are things that you're going to ask yourself whenever you buy something like this. If you have the TourBox Neo, which is their first device, came out a couple years ago, it retailed for about $180, $190, somewhere around there, and currently it's for sale for $169 on their website. And you're going to say, well, why is this Lite version almost $100? It doesn't have the same, a lot of the same features. No, it has a lot of the same features, and it's kind of a stripped down version. You know, and then you're going to say, well, why do I need to spend $100 on something like this when I can have a keyboard, a Joy-Con, an Xbox controller, or something like that? You know, the reality is it's not just a remapping device. It comes with various functions that are native to each program, and they've gone in and efficiently put those quick keys in for you. So it is a plug and play in some respect, right? For those that don't really want to get knee deep in reprogramming a controller. You know, based on what TourBox offers, the pricing is really competitive when you compare it to others like Wacom, you know, your Clip Studio TabMate, which I've never used that particular one, but I have used the Sense Labs as well as the XP Pen and Huion quick keys. And this, comparatively speaking, some of those other devices, you know, $79, $100, $130, and they don't come pre-programmed. You have to go in and do it yourself. I think that this particular unit, as well as the Neo, kind of have a leg up on the other controllers. You know, some of you are going to say it looks really hard to learn, right? I think that is definitely a valid statement. And somebody that has years and years of quick key remote or keyboard muscle memory, you're going to have a challenge. It typically takes about 2 weeks, and that's no different than somebody transitioning from maybe a stationary tablet to a display tablet. You know, why should you use it instead of a keyboard? Here's the deal. I've used a keyboard for years and years and years and years, and that muscle memory has developed over years and years. And then whenever I travel, I have the keyboard with me as well as a quick key remote. And learning that additional layer of complexity although it improves workflow, is a challenge, right? The older we get, sometimes the harder it is to adapt to different technologies. The thing is, you know, stuff like this, as well as that heads-up display that they provide, it actually increases the workflow. How do I put it? You're doing things new, right? Because technology is always evolving. Let's say you stopped at some point, just not doing anything anymore. You're not learning new software. You're not learning new keyboards. How do we know that this keyboard, right? This keyboard right here is going to be the design that's going to be the keyboard for the next 100 years, right? Or even 10 years. I think that we should always embrace new technology and see where it leads us. And that's exactly what this unit represents. It represents kind of the evolution of the Quick Key remote. And I think you should definitely consider it. Some of you guys are going to say it's useless. It's a waste of money. And not to mention, it's got a super ugly layout and it's not practical. Here's the reality of this. Those comments are always going to exist, right? They exist for computers whenever they first come out. You know, they exist for car interfaces. They exist for, you know, whenever your phone gets a new update. Technology is constantly moving forward. And TourBox people have looked at this in a way that, you know, they've got their basic setup, their ergonomic setup, and it can morph, it can change, it can do things as you move forward. So I definitely think that it should be a consideration. You know, this unit's $100. The roughly it's $98 and change plus shipping. The TourBox Lite is not a stripped down version. It's not a quote unquote more efficient version. It is a cheaper version for those that don't need all the bells and whistles of the Neo. Now, if you want the Neo, 190, whatever it's 100, let's say $200 shipped. I think that overall, it's just a great option. It is a good option. My computer's doing things. It is a great option for those people that, you know, need something like that. Is it a niche device? Niche being specialized for somebody maybe that, you know, has the ability or capability to do a lot of things at once, you know, video editing, music producer, illustrator, graphic designer. It kind of covers all of these things, right? And whenever you combine this with, you know, with not only years of experience, but also the, you know, the extreme knowledge that is out there that you can access, you know, you could use this in a myriad of setups. I mean, gosh, you know, video editing, 3D sculpting, you know, illustration, graphic design, the possibilities are endless. Whenever you have a unit like this that you can program, my goodness, why wouldn't you? You know, I mean, the keyboard is good, but it only goes so far. And you have the auto switching feature that definitely helps out, right? It helps. So hopefully I didn't talk too long in this video, but whenever I see technology that excites me and it's new and it's innovative, I did the same thing with the Neo. Go back and look at that video. The Neo was great. And I had some of the same questions that you have, right? Some of the same questions, you know, money and why would I spend this much and blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's like one of those things whenever you use it and then you realize, how could I not have this in my life? Why did I wait? Technology to me is ever changing, right? I've definitely seen technology change in a myriad of ways. Computers change, the innards change, the interfaces change. We're constantly trying to make efficiencies where they need to and sometimes when they don't. But if you want to add a little bit better workflow to your life, consider the TourBox line of products from the Neo to the Lite and those in between, okay? One last thing before we wrap the video totally up. TourBox provided a link in the description below as well as a discount code. So if you're interested in the TourBox Lite, the TourBox Neo, or any other product that they have listed on their website, you can get $5 off. This particular code is valid for 1 month of the publishing of this particular video. So from today and 1 month in the future, you can go and click that link and you can get $5 off. So I just wanted to say thank you to TourBox for letting me review this particular product, as well as the product that I reviewed 2 years ago. You know, TourBox is definitely an innovator when it comes to peripherals and media controllers, and I highly recommend them for your workflow. So thank you guys, and go out and create something awesome today, whether it's traditional art, whether it's digital art, whether it's 3D sculpture, whatever it is. Go out and have some fun and do some experimentation, all right? We'll talk to you soon. See you next time. Bye.